All right, so let's start. So today's our topic would be OSI and TCP IP model. Okay. All right. Now, if you check the syllabus of this new CCNA 200301, we will find that OSI reference model is removed from the new structured, okay, new curriculum of the 200301. But still, we will discuss on OSI reference model because OSI reference model is uh, more extracted than TCP IP model. We have 7 layers, like the entire network communication is divided into 7 layers in TCP IP model, whereas in in OSI reference model, whereas in TCP IP model we have only 4 layers, which defines the communication of networking. Okay, any network. So for getting better understanding, we will understand OSI reference model. The only reason why that OSI reference model had like lost the battle when like they were searching for, like they were thinking for to keeping only one model in the curriculum between OSI and TCP. The only reason that OSI comes later, and before that TCP IP model was there before. So TCP IP model can also give the clear image of communication model between any networks, but OSI can give you the clear and extracted format of the network communication. The only reason behind removing that OSI from the curriculum is it comes later on. That's it. That is why it lost the battle. TCP IP was there before OSI model, so TCP IP wins the battle, and he's like the CCNA is still keeping this TCP IP in the curriculum. But as per me, OSI is best to understand the communication between the network. Okay, so we will compare both the things, and we will understand what exactly and how exactly a network communicates in any environment. Okay, now before I start, as we already discussed here, like there are two models which are commonly used to describe network communication. Okay, if you want to make a note, you can make a note of it. There are two models which are commonly used to describe network communication. The first is OSI reference model and the second is TCP IP model. If I talk about the full form, so the full form of OSI is Open System Interconnection Reference Model, and TCP, everyone knows, Transmission Control Protocol over Internet Protocol model, right? Now, OSI model and TCP IP model. In OSI, as we discussed now, that we have 7 layers. The first one is
Application
application.
presentation session network transport data link physical.
Very good. Presentation
Session network.
session transport.
Network.
Network data link and
Physical.
physical. Good. Now, in TCP IP model, top 3 layers of OSI converts into one, that is application. transport will remain transport, networks remain internet, and bottom two converts into network access. Okay, so if I understand all the functionality of each and every 7 layers of OSI reference model, we will get the clear picture about the TCP IP model as well, right? Because the functionality is same. In TCP IP model, it combines all 3 top layers in an application layer. So if we understand the application presentation session layer functionality in OSI reference model, we will get the picture of TCP IP model as well. Okay, the same with transport network and data link and physical as well. Okay, now before I proceed further, we need to discuss about what exactly and how OSI reference model or each and every layer helps. Okay, what was the requirement and why uh, it comes into the picture. So the first thing is OSI is not a physical model, it's a logical model, right? We know that it's not a physical, it's a logical model. It is essentially or it is generally a set of guidelines that developers can use to create or implement applications to run on a network. As simple as that. It is generally a set of guidelines, or you can say set of instructions that developer can use to create or implement application to run on a network. Okay, suppose if I want to I am a network application developer. If I want to develop an application, so I have to create a blueprint, like after coding and after creating the application, if I follow all these 7 layers, then and there only my application will be success to run on any network. If it fails on any of these layers, it will not be able to communicate with server, and like the client will not be able to use that application. So that is why it had been break into such a way. Okay, now what are the advantages of OSI reference model? What are the advantages? So
It's helped to implement the application in the network. It is a set of guidelines.
yes, that is correct. So how it's helpful, how it helps? So generally, like, as we discussed right now, that it helps to break down the network functions, right?
Right.
It helps to break down the network functions. It creates standard for equipment manufacturing. What does it mean?
Okay.
It creates standard for equipment manufacturing. What does it mean? It means that suppose uh, a vendor or a company wants to create a device which will capture the MAC address. So MAC address works on data link layer. So what needs to follow for them so that the device can work on layer 2 device like switch, or for layer 3 device, how it works? So that is why it categorizes is standards for equipment and manufacturer. Okay, now the third thing is it prevents changes in one layer from affecting other layers to speed up or accurate or expedite the development. Okay, if you go to any application development or software development company, you will see that for different parts of a software, to develop a software we require many things. So it's not possible for a team, only one team cannot develop a software. So there is a different teams
Teams.
works for different parts of that particular software, right? So according to this, they can break the team, and the team who is working for only the application, they will work for application and do like on which platform it will run, and the presentation like how it will looks like, and so then there. So this is how it prevents changes in one layer from affecting other layers to speed up the development or to accurate the development. Okay,
Okay.
now let us come to the Functions of the OSI reference model. Okay, before that, let us discuss one thing. So here in OSI reference model, it is divided into two categories. The top three application, the top three layers, sorry, not application, top three layers defines how the application within the end station will communicate with each other as well as with users. Okay, so
Okay.
how the application here, how the application, how the application within the end stations will communicate to each other, and the bottom four will define, the bottom four will define what? Any idea?
So network, backend network.
Transmission, right?
Yeah.
Transmission. The bottom four layer define the data, how the data is transmitted end to end. Okay, how the data is transmitted. Okay, these four, the bottom four layers are the most uses layer. The top three are least uses. So if you are communicating in a network, if you are not using any application, still the bottom four will work. But when you start using any application, then the top three comes into the picture. That is why the top three is least uses and the bottom four is most uses. As you connect any two pieces in a network, the bottom four start working. Okay,
Right. Right.
now, so let us start from application layer. The first layer is application layer. Suppose if I am having a PC over here, switch router. Okay, suppose if I'm trying to just give me 1 second. Okay, suppose if I am trying to purchase anything. Okay, I'm just going to Amazon or Flipkart and I'm trying to search anything. So this is a, suppose for example, it's a Flipkart server. Okay, let us check here. So how is it starts? So this is how it starts. So the first thing, as a user, whenever you will open any application or any like right now I'm using a web browser and using a HTTP protocol to access a website. Suppose if I want to purchase this memory card. Okay, I clicked here. So network already established. It is communicating with the Flipkart server and responding me like in that server how many devices are there so that I can purchase that. So for example, if I want to purchase this one, as I click on buy now, okay, as I click on buy now, I just click on buy now, right? And now let us check that how many sessions we have open right now. Okay, so to check the session, we'll go to command prompt and the command is netstate. netstate is a command. Netstate is a command which show you all the open sessions, right? All the running sessions. It is showing all the active connections here. So we will wait for some time. Okay, and here we will observe one more thing, like it's giving the IP addresses. Okay, after that colon and a number. What is this number?
Maybe MAC address.
No, MAC address is in 48-bit format. So we are getting only one number, 64,491. What is this? This is basically a dynamically generated port number. Okay, we will come into that, why it's getting created. So here we can see like EC, right? EC, you can see here EC. So EC is a server, like these all are the server, but EC can identify you that EC is a server for Flipkart. How we know? Just by my experience, I can say that EC eCart, right? So this is a server for Flipkart. So we can see here like a connection is established. This is how, let us discuss here. First of all, if you want to note the definition, you can note it down. What is application layer? Application layer is responsible for providing networking services to the user. It is also known as desktop layer. It is also known as desktop layer because we are using any application to access the server or any file. That is why it also known as application layer. Just like end devices, the end point of any network is end devices. Okay, so for accessing a network you will use any application, so that is why it's called as desktop layer as well. So identification of services is done using port number. This whatever we are getting, these are the port numbers. We will come into that, how it works and why exactly it's creating a dynamically port number automatically. Okay, now total number of ports in application layer, uh, it creates a port. So total number of ports is, how many ports are there total? 65,000, 0 to 65,535. This is total. Okay, we have total port is 65,536 starting from 0. That is why it's from 0 to 65,535. Now we have reserve port. Reserve port, or we can say like well-known port from 0 to 1023, right? And the open client port is from 1024 to 65,535. Okay, 1 second. Fine. So reserve port is from 0 to 1023, and these are open client ports. From 1024 to 65,535. Okay, now the functionality of application layer is, it is the interface with the application as per the name we can say like it's the interface of the application. It provides network access to the applications. For example, if I talk about the example, what are the examples? Web browser, email, file, if you are giving any print command, if you are sending any message, database, application services, etc. So whatever application you are using, that works on application layer. As per the name we can identify that, right? Now let us come to the second layer, that is presentation. Fine. So presentation layer is responsible for genifying the data. Okay, presentation layer is responsible for genifies the data. What does it mean? What does it mean? It means to prevent data in proper format. Okay, present data in proper format. Okay, now the question is, what does it mean present data in proper format? Just look at the term here, presentation. What does it mean? Presentation means how it will look like. What would be the presentation style, right? So we can see like we can say that everything everything which uh, give you the like presentation of the file, you can say that it works on the presentation layer. For example, if it's a file of mp3, right? So the extensions, basically you can say the extensions are uh, you can say like extensions can give you the clear picture of the presentation style of that particular file. For example, mp3, WAN, MIDI, BMP file, JPG file, etc. So whatever is showing you, like whatever you are getting to know like how the application will look like, that means it's on the presentation layer. Okay, the second thing is, okay, first thing we already discussed here, it generifies the data, how it looks like, the proper format of the data, it presents the proper format of the data. The second thing is it also handles the processing such as encryption. Okay, now not only encryption, if it handles the encryption, it will also decrypt. So the first thing which it do here is encryption and decryption. The second is encoding or decoding, and the third one is compression and decompression. Okay, so these are the three functionalities of the presentation layer. Okay, it encrypt, it decrypt, it encode, it decode, it compress, it decompress. Fine. Now let us come to the third layer. The third one is session. Okay, now what does it mean? Session layer is responsible for establishing or maintaining sorry, establishing, maintaining and terminating the session. Okay, session layer is responsible for establishing, maintaining and terminating the session. What does it mean? Suppose right now I have opened a web page here. At the same time, if I want to buy any other product, say this watch. Okay, so I just click here. On the first end, I have clicked on a memory card. At the same time, I'm also clicking on buy now for smartwatch. Okay, how will this server understand? How will this server understand that you have clicked on buy now two times? So which buy now is for which session? How it will understand whenever you will get a respond to pay the amount or for confirmation of the payment, where exactly you will get that, because server is sending you the reply for buy now, but there were two different amount. For smartwatch we have different amount 773, right? And for this 739, right? So 773 and 739. So how the server will understand that on which uh, request I have to respond? So that is why the session is important. Whenever you are clicking on anywhere, it is creating, okay, it is creating, means is it is establishing a session, it will maintain the session, okay, and it will stop the session, means terminate the session, right? So whenever you are clicking on any buy now, then and there it is starting a session that yes, this buy now will sync with this session. Whenever I will get a respond for this particular session, I have to respond on uh, like memory card. Whenever I will get a respond on different session, it means that is for the smartwatch. So it creates, the session layer creates, maintain and terminate the session. All right, so how it works? There are three process through which it works. One is through RPC, the second one is SQL, the third one is NFS. What is RPC, what is SQL and what is NFS? RPC stands for remote procedure call. Okay, remote procedure call. SQL stands for structured query language. And NFS stands for network file system. Okay, so these are the three process through which session establish. All right, now let's come to the transport layer. Transport layer is responsible for end-to-end communication, as we are now on the network, as we have discussed here. These are the application, okay, how the application will work or communicate with end-to-end. But here the data is started transmitting. So how the data is transmitting? So it start from transport layer. Now whenever any packet will come to the transport layer, so transport layer is responsible for end-to-end connectivity. It is also known as heart of the OSI layer model. Okay, it is also known as the heart of the OSI reference model. What are the functions or functionality works on transport layer? The first one is it dedicate how the data is sent. Okay, how the data is sent. The second is it defines well-known services or ports. The third one is it perform error correction. Before retransmit. And it also provides reliable or unreliable delivery. Fine. The first one is it dedicates how the data is sent. It defines well-known ports. It provides reliability or unreliability. It performs error correction before retransmit. Now there are two things. Let us discuss on error correction and reliable and unreliable. Okay, if you observe here, I had written error correction. So on transport layer we are having error correction where exactly the error detection works. Okay, so please keep in mind error correction works on layer 4, that is transport layer, but error detection works on layer 2, that is data link layer. Okay, who is responsible for error detection? Logical link control. Okay, LLC. There are two sub layer, we will come into that. So as of now you just understand this. On layer 4 only the error correction works, but error detection works on layer 2. Clear? Now the second thing is, what does it mean reliable and unreliable? What does it mean reliable and unreliable? Reliable means trustable and untrustable. You can trust on reliable. Unreliable means it is not been dependable. You cannot depend on that. What does it mean? It means that, okay, we will come into that for TCP IP. Okay, now there are two protocols in transport layer. Whenever a packet will come, it will check like whether the application or the protocol whichever you are using, is it using a TCP protocol or the UDP protocol. What is TCP and what is UDP? Transmission control protocol and user datagram protocol. Let us write that. Fine. Now first of all, the full form: transmission control protocol and user datagram protocol. Now the second point is TCP is connection oriented and UDP is connectionless. So connection oriented and this is connectionless. The third one is it is whenever you use any TCP protocol application, you will get the acknowledgement and here you will not get any acknowledgement. Okay. Now the fourth is as you are getting acknowledgement here, it means it's a reliable, means you are getting 100% surety that yes, the packet whichever you sent that is been delivered. So this is reliable and this is unreliable. It will, you will just send a packet and it is not bothered about whether it is received on the other end or not. Okay, you will not get any acknowledgement here. Now after that, what can we say? Yes, if you are getting an acknowledgement here, it will be a slower, it will be a faster. Then we will discuss on port numbers. Okay, then we will discuss on port numbers. What are the port numbers or the applications which works on TCP layer and what are the port numbers of the application which runs on the UDP layer. Okay, now that is a secondary thing. As of now, these are the main points for TCP and UDP. If I give an example, you can see, you can say any live streaming works on UDP because it needs faster connectivity and you are not bothered about the previous packet. What does it mean? Suppose if I am communicating over a phone, live interaction, okay, if I am communicating over the phone, if I am saying 4 words here, hello, how are you, and the third packet drops, okay, so the other end person will only get hello, how you. He will not wait for the third packet again, or it will not send the packet hello, how you, and again the network will come r. It is not like that, right? Hello, how you, if the packet drops, it means it drops, it will not retry to send the packet again. Same with live streaming. Any live streaming, if you are using if you are looking at any live streaming on YouTube or any platform, once it missed, it missed. Okay, you will not get that again if it's not recorded, right? So any live streaming needs faster connectivity and no one bothers about any lost packet. Lost, network down, lost means lost, right? So that means UDP works there, but most of the application nowadays use TCP protocol. We will comes into the port numbers and we will discuss on port numbers, like which port numbers works on TCP layer and which port numbers or the applications works on UDP layer. Okay, fine. Now this is what we have discussed on transport layer. Now let us come to the network layer. Network layer. Network layer is responsible for providing best path for data to reach the destination. It provides logical addressing, works on this layer. Okay, logical addressing works on this layer. Router is a device which works on the network layer, it is divided into two parts, routed and routing. So if I say just forget about routed and routing, as of now, network layer responsible for best path selection. Just look at the term whatever I'm using. The first one is best path. Okay. The second one I used is logical addressing. Means okay, logical addressing. If you focus on these two terms, you will get all the pictures about this network layer. Okay, how? Best path means network layer is responsible for best path selection. Which are the device? We learned about router, we learned about switch. Router is a device which connects two or more than two networks, right? On each and every interface, we have a different network, right? So suppose if I want to, here is a router, here is a router, here is a router. Again, we have connected one router, and then here is a device. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, now, so I have to reach from PC1 to PC2. I will send a packet to my gateway, this. Now a router will check that I have three paths to get to reach this network, right? This and this, path 1, 2 and 3. Now which path have to select, that depends on the router. Okay, that depends on the router, like which path the router will select as per the routing tables and routing protocols, right? Okay, just give me 1 second. Sorry, I got a call. All right, now, so the first one is routed protocol. The second one is, I use the term logical addressing. Logical addressing means IP address, right? So IP address works on layer 3. Okay, so sorry, this is routing protocol through which it selects the best path, and this is routed protocol, which is IP. Okay, now if I talk about like what does it the functionality is, it provides logical addressing and it finds the best path to the destination. That's it. These are the functionality of the network layer. Okay, no confusion. Now let us come to the data link. Data link layer provides physical addressing. I'm using the term physical addressing. And it also ensure the data is error free, means error detection, not correction. Okay, which we already discussed here. Error detection, okay, not correction. Done. Now this layer divided into two sub layers, MAC and LLC. MAC, we all know that, media access control, right? What is LLC? Logical link control. Now What is logical link controls? Logical link controls talks about WAN protocols. WAN protocols means point to point protocol, HDLC protocol, frame relay. Okay, these are the protocols which works on LLC. All right. And the second one is media access control, which talks about the physical addressing. We all know that. And we all know that format of MAC address is 48-bit or 12 hexadecimal number format. Okay. So these are the functionality of data link layer. It provides physical addressing MAC. It provides error detection, not correction, means logical link control is responsible for checking, like detecting the error. Clear now? Now last one is physical. Physical layer, as per the word we can say, physically whatever you are doing, okay, that means it's a physical layer. Now what are the functionality? It provides access to the cables, it provides access to the cables, and it electrically, like electrical signal, light signal and waves. Okay, if you are talking about any cables for communication, it means you are working on physical layer. So a network administrator, whenever, okay, first of all let me write it down. Okay, before that, router works on network layer. Switch, bridge, uh, or like NIC, network interface card. These are the devices which works on data link layer. The device whichever is capturing the MAC address or which have the MAC address works on layer 2. Now in physical layer we have hub, repeater, modem, cables. The devices or the cables, like the devices whichever is responsible for data communication, like if any signal is going through that, like electrical signal, light signal, waves, that's all depends on, that all works on physical layer. Okay, so this is what the functionality of OSI reference model. Now how the packet creates, let us discuss on that. Just give me 1 second. So whenever any application starts and it comes in TCP IP model, okay, where is that? Application starts, right? Now it creates a frame with data, whatever you are going to send from one network to another network. Okay, as it reach the second layer of the TCP/IP model, transport layer, here we learned about the port numbers. It starts a port number, so you will get a port number, source port and destination port. Okay, now as it reach the network layer, it will get a source IP and destination IP. As it reach the next next layer, network access, it will get in the frame, it will get a source and destination MAC address. And finally, before leaving the network, it will combine together and it works on frame check sequence, right? This is also known as CRC, Citric Redundancy Check. Okay, so this is how data or packet start formatting. All right, now what are the, okay, before that, as we have discussed on TCP IP right now, if you observe, then you will find that TCP we were discussing on transport layer of the OSI model, and IP we were discussing on network layer. Look here, TCP we were discussing on transport layer, right? And then we moved to network layer, we were discussing about the IP. So these two are on the different layers of the model, whether it is like OSI reference model or the TCP IP model. Okay, now here through this understanding we can say that TCP IP model is not just a protocol, it is a group or it is a team, right? TCP IP is not just a protocol, it is a team. We also know this TCP IP model also known as DoD model. What is this? Department of Defense model, right? Now, and we can see this, we can see that as it is not a just a conceptual thing. You just make a note of it. TCP IP model is not just one protocol, it is a team or it is a group. Okay, now we already discussed about the what was that, net state command. Now what is remaining here? Best effort done. Yes, let us come to the TCP and UDP. What are the applications, the well-known applications which we use in our daily life? Which applications works on which protocol? Okay, the first one is FTP. Okay, then SSH. These are the applications which works on which use TCP. Okay, FTP, SSH, then Telnet, then SMTP, then DNS server, then HTTP, then POP3, then HTTPS. These are the applications which use TCP. What about UDP? DNS client, DSCP, SNMP. Before that, let me write TFTP, less port number, TFTP, and SNMP. Okay. Now, FTP uses both. We have 0 to 65,535 port. Okay. Now, FTP uses port number 21. SSH uses port number 22. Telnet 23. SMTP 25. DNS server 53. HTTP 80. POP3 110 and HTTPS 443. Okay. Now in UDP, these are the well-known ports which we need to remember. Okay. Now DNS client 53, DSCP 67, TFTP 69 and SNMP 161. Okay. So these are the well-known ports we can say there. And one second, I think I'm missing something. Yes. So FTP also uses port number 20 and 21. 20 and 21 uses by FTP, and DSCP uses 67 and 68. Okay. So these two things, 20 and 21 used by FTP, 67 and 68 used by DSCP. Okay. Now, yes. So this is what TCP and UDP applications uses which port number. Now let us come to the TCP windowing. What is TCP windowing? Let me take a new slide here. TCP windowing, what is it? It is used to control the amount of outstanding unacknowledged data segmentation if a receiving host, what does it mean? Suppose if I am sending a packet from this server, XYZ server, PC. If I'm trying to communicate with this server, if I'm sending any packet, okay, it will control the amount of outstanding unacknowledged data segments if a receiving host, okay, if a receiving host fails to receive all the segments that it should acknowledge, the host can improve the communication sessions by decreasing the window size. What does it mean? We have seen a sliding window, right? Suppose if it's a sliding window, right? Sorry, my pictures is not proper. I'm not good in drawing. So suppose it's a sliding window. If you are opening this window, okay, suppose this is the frame. If you want to move any data from this window, you will open this window slightly, right? First, if you check like the data is passing properly or not, uh, like if it's passing properly, then you will adjust the sliding, like if you will move, like you will increase or decrease the sliding window, and you will adjust according to the data. If the data is more, you will send it like that. If so, like that only it works. So let us give the example. For example, if any communication will start, it will send the packet, only the first packet for the first time. Now this PC sends a single packet to this server. Server receive that and send the acknowledgement for 2. One received, send me the second one. Okay. Now this PC will understand, okay, fine. Now one packet is going absolutely fine. It will increase its window size and then it will send the packet S2 and S3. Send the packet. The server will respond, I got it. Send me 4. Acknowledgement for 4. It will send it to the PC. Now again it will double. Means it will send this time S4, S5, S6, S7. Now the server receives only 3 packet, S4, S5 and S6. It will send the acknowledgement for S7. This PC will check, like I already sent the sequential or the packet 7, but the acknowledgement which I'm getting is for 7 only. It means that packet drops in between. Okay, so it will adjust its window size at 3, and from next time it will start sending all the packets with 3 3 3 and 3. Okay, so again it will send S7, S8 and S9. It will go, and again this will send the acknowledgement for A10. So like this it will start working. So this is how TCP windowing works. If you want to make a note of the definition is TCP windowing is used to control the amount of outstanding unacknowledged data segments. If a receiving host fails to receive all the segments that it should acknowledge, the host can improve the communication session by decreasing the window size. Clear? Where S is a sequence and A is equal to acknowledgement. Okay, done. So this is what we talk about today: OSI reference model and the TCP IP model. I hope uh, no confusion in this, and it's my request to everyone, please start any session, just open any of your website, click anywhere, go to the command prompt, check the session, like whichever sessions are running. Okay, and then start thinking about the communication on each and every 7 layers of the OSI reference model, like which application establish, okay, presentation, session, transport, network, data link, physical, everything, and start creating the frame here, like how it's communicating the frame. Where is that? This frame. So when the data start, what would be the port number, the source port number? Right now we are getting the port number this. Okay, one thing you will observe here, 64,430. So it's a dynamically assigned port. Okay, so we discussed about the port number here. Where is that? I think here. Yes, so these are the like port number, but this is also divided, like open client ports, these are also divided into two subcategories from 1024 to 49,151. These are registered port. We can say this as well-known ports. And the range from 49,152 to 65,535, it's a dynamically assigned port. So here you can see like the port number whichever you will get here dynamically, that would be in the range of 49,152 and above. Okay, now so this is done for today, and I hope the sessions will or was informative for you. See you again in next session, and the next session will be more interesting, practically proven the difference between telnet and SSH, how to configure telnet and SSH. We will do it practically, and we will also check practically like how telnet is less secure than SSH. People knows like in telnet the plain text passes, and in SSH the encrypted text passes. So how to check that, how to verify that, we will check that as well in our next session. So thank you so much guys for joining today's session. Once again we will meet tomorrow at the same time. Till then, bye bye and take care.